I am not gonna give you the perfect sensitivity. My aim is to help you learn the skill how to find it for yourself, so you can apply it in other games that you play. On top of this, each device has a different response time, so whatever I give you might not even work. But yeah, let's get cracking. First of all, let's reset my entire sensitivity setting so we can start from scratch and you can actually see me adjusting it based on my liking. You need to learn about rotation mode first though. Rotation mode is not only important in general movement, but it is also very important whenever you're aiming and trying to kill an enemy, so pay attention. Rotation mode decides how much you turn based on how you're swiping. Speed acceleration, how much you turn is based on how fast you swipe your finger. Distance acceleration, how much you turn is based on how far you swipe your finger in one swipe. Fixed speed, no acceleration at all, so it doesn't matter how fast or how far you swipe your finger, you will always turn the same amount. Next up, aim assist. This is another thing that heavily influences your aim, so we're gonna cover this one too. Aim assist is something that helps you target enemies. In this clip, you'll notice that my crosshair is pointed right next to the dummy, not on the dummy itself. As soon as I aim down sight, aim assist will kick in and pull me to the dummy. Not gonna lie, aim assist in soft launch is a little bit overpowered. Aim assist shouldn't really pull you to the target, it should slow the sensitivity down as you get to the target. But hey, that's a story for another day. See this button at the top? This is a firing range exclusive feature. When you click it, this window will pop up, and this window contains the sensitivity settings for you to quickly access without ever having to go into the menu. Free camera focus. I'll cover this in a second actually. Sensitivity acceleration. This side it will adjust the turning acceleration that you get from distance and speed acceleration modes. Free camera focus. Now, do you see this eyeball over here? If not, this is how you turn it on. Go into settings, click the sensitivity tab, and right here where it says FPP free camera focus, turn it on. This one is for the first person perspective mode. This one's for the third person perspective mode. Free focus is how you can look around without having to actually turn your character model. Camera and firing sensitivities. Camera sensitivity. This is your sensitivity for when you're not firing a weapon, holding an ordnance, or aiming with your tactical ability. I'll cover those sensitivities later in the video. Firing sensitivity. These sensitivities kick in as soon as you start firing your weapon. So just to give you a general example, you can have a very high normal turning speed, so as soon as you start firing your weapon, your sensitivity will drop, giving you a better aim. Right then, we're about to get into some real movement and aiming. But before that, rule number 1, always remember, ABM, always be moving. Especially whenever you're aiming at an enemy, build a habit to always keep moving. Once you know that, we're going to use that exact technique to set our sensitivities right now. The first thing that you want to do is get a feel of your general movement. So before you start tweaking anything, just run around, turn around, look up and down, left and right, and just get a feel of the general initial sensitivities for you. If you want to make any adjustments, you want to use this option right here, FPP without ADS aiming down sights. Just simply turn the slider down or up until you get to a comfortable spot. Don't worry about getting it perfect for now because it will change, I guarantee you that. Just get it to a point where you're like, oh, okay, this feels decent, and then next point, turning corners. Right then, we're going to use this little area right here, this little alleyway, for us to test our corners. At the end of this slope, there is a left and a right corner, perfect for us to practice our turns. Head down the alleyway and make a sharp turn. As you can see here, the turn was a little bit too much, and the main thing that affects that is because of the fact that I have speed acceleration on. I turned the corner based on how I naturally would turn a corner when I have my perfect sensitivity, which means the sensitivity that I need to adjust is the sensitivity acceleration, because I'm happy with the general sensitivity, but as soon as I swipe my finger really fast, it turns too much. So let's turn that down a little bit. And that's pretty much it for turning corners. Just keep turning your corners and adjust up or down based on how much you turn. Simples. Oh, by the way, guys, I know we're spending a bit of time setting our sensitivities right now, but please do not expect that these sensitivities that you're setting right now to be permanent and perfect. It will take you days and weeks of fine-tuning your sensitivity to get the perfect sensitivity. It will not happen overnight. But let's get you to a strong starting point. 180 turns. This is basically having the ability to turn completely behind you with one swipe. Very useful in a lot of situations, so let's set it up. Right then, to start, just quickly run around as normal and do a quick swipe to try and do a 180 turn. This is where things get a little bit tricky though, because the sensitivity that you need to adjust is the same one for your turning. Sensitivity acceleration, which means whenever you're adjusting your sensitivity for your 180 turn, that will directly impact your turning corner sensitivities. So how is it going to work then, you're probably wondering? Well, this is where you need to adjust physically how you actually swipe your finger. So whenever you're turning your corners, you might need to swipe a little bit less, and when you're doing your 180 turns, you might need to swipe a little bit more than you normally would. In basic terms, you have to find a happy medium between turning corners and 180 sensitivities. So the best thing to do with these two is practice the two together. Move around, do 180, do a quick turn, corner turn, 180, quick turn, and just keep adjusting your sensitivity acceleration until you get to to a comfortable spot. Right then, moving on, tracing. In basic terms, the art of tracing means trying to keep your crosshair on your target for as long as possible while you're moving and or while the target is moving. We're gonna come up with a super simple system here, guys. Phase 1 is where we trace a static dummy, which means the dummy is not moving at all. Phase 2 is when we trace moving dummies. If you're wondering why I have to trace a non-moving target, that is simply because sometimes your enemy is just simply not moving and you want to be able to track and lock onto that target when you see them. Right, the first test that we're gonna do, no weapons, no grenades, nothing, just our hands. It doesn't really matter if you're holding a weapon or not, but it does matter if you're holding an ordnance like a grenade because that has its own sensitivity settings, which we'll cover in a little bit. Right then, all you're gonna do is move around left and right, forward and backwards, and at the same time, try and keep this dummy inside your crosshair at all times. Important note, when you're moving, always change your directions constantly. Try not to build a pattern, move around and change directions randomly. If you want to make any adjustments, open the sensitivity window and adjust this slider right here. Camera sensitivity, FPP without ADS aiming down sights. This is your sensitivity with minimal input from sensitivity acceleration when you're tracing a target like this. So if you're struggling to track this dummy because your camera is moving too fast, then turn it down. Likewise, if you feel like the turns are too slow, turn it up. Then we go to this control panel over here and summon all the moving dummies out. Once all the dummies are out, try and trace them as they are moving and as you are moving. All of them. Don't just focus on one. Keep switching between targets. Yes, even that thing over there, far away. Make sure you move quite far from the dummies. Make sure you also go really close to the dummies. Practice your long, mid, and close range tracking. Here's a quick pro tip as to why we are doing this. Sometimes it's just best to move around until your enemy has run out of bullets and then you shoot them as they're reloading. And with this practice over here, you'll be able to track them without shooting. Right then, aiming down sight and firing sensitivities. I guess this is the big moment that you guys are waiting for, right? How do I shoot my enemies? We're gonna use the very same structure that we did with the static and moving dummies, but there's just a few things that you need to know first. Apply, always be moving. Always be moving. Always be moving. Do not ever fight enemies who are also shooting at you and just stand there. Not only does this make you an easy target to kill, it also makes you an easy target to kill. Do you get my point? Right then, let's grab a gun. I strongly recommend grabbing the R301. Easy recoil, decent damage. I'm gonna teach you how to set the sensitivities for this gun, but do bear in mind that when you switch to your main choice of gun, you may need to readjust your sensitivities later on. But for the purpose of this video and easiness, R301. First up, hip fire. Get to about this sort of distance. This is kind of like where you would hip fire with the R301. Anything further than this, you're probably not going to hit them. But yeah, start moving and hip firing your enemies, moving left and right, forward and backward. Hip fire the hell out of that dummy. Kill him, kill him. And yeah, if you feel like you need to adjust the sensitivities, just open this window, go to the firing sensitivity tab, and then use this slider right here to change your hip fire sensitivities. Shooting without ADS. This one's for the first person perspective. This one's for the third person perspective. Once you've made some adjustments, go at it again. Remember, you're not gonna get the perfect sensitivity, so just get it to a really nice and comfortable spot and fine tune it later on. Right then, head on back to this control panel and summon the moving dummies again. Once the dummies are out, get a little bit close to them and start hip firing them. Focus on one dummy at a time and try your best to take that dummy down with just one magazine. Then switch it up eventually. Start spraying one enemy and then switch to another one and then switch to the other one and then just move around, change your distance. But yeah, just keep things random because you can never fully predict what your enemy movements are 100% of the time. Right then, aim down sight time. For each type of sight or scope that we will do 4 tests. We will do an aim down sight trace without shooting on a static and moving target. Then we will do a drill where you aim down sight and you shoot your static target and your moving targets. Why? Because often you will aim down sight to just track a target and not actually shoot. Or you take a little bit of time to get that perfect aim using your ADS and then shoot. So yeah, you want to have the right ADS looking sensitivity and ADS firing sensitivity. Right then, let's trace the standing dummy. Aim down sight, don't shoot, move around and try and keep that dummy in your crosshair at all times. If and when you need to make an adjustment, open this window and in the camera sensitivity settings and adjust your sensitivity using this slider. Iron sights, 1x scope ADS. When you're adjusting your sensitivity, especially when aim down sight, you have to pay attention to the sliders. Each slider will correspond depending on the type of scope that you have equipped on your gun, or if you don't have one. So yeah, using this slider, make the adjustments that you need. Rinse, repeat until you're comfortable with the sensitivities. Time for some boom, boom, pow. We're gonna use the same technique, but now we're gonna start shooting the target. So yeah, go ahead. ADS, move around, shoot the target, try and take it down with one clip. R301 has enough firepower to actually take this dummy down with one magazine. You don't even need a magazine attachment for that either. If you're struggling for whatever reason, too fast, too slow, open this window and then go down to the firing sensitivity window and then use this slider to make adjustments with. Iron sights, one-time scope, ADS shooting. Next, moving dummies. Head to the control panel, summon the moving dummies, and then for the first phase, we're just gonna track and trace them in ADS without shooting. Again, keep moving around, trace one target, snap onto the other target, snap onto another one, keep everything random, and then just trace the dummies as best as you can. If you need to make adjustments, again, just click this button, open the window, and then go into camera sensitivity and change the sensitivity according to your scope. Then when you're in a good spot with the turning sensitivity, start shooting. Again, try and one clip the dummies. This time it's going to be much harder because the dummies are moving, you're moving, you have the recoil, you have the range, but just try your best to take that dummy down with one magazine. Don't forget to switch it up. Shoot one enemy halfway through your mag, snap onto one of the targets, start tracking and shooting that one. Basically what I'm trying to enforce onto you guys is don't keep doing the same thing. Change things, be random, be spontaneous, because when you get in a real fight, prediction is a hard thing to master. So get a head start now. Right then, moving on, but seeing as you're just gonna follow the exact same process, I'm not gonna go through each and every single scope and set sensitivities here. But just a quick recap: trace a standing dummy, then shoot the standing dummy, then trace moving dummies, then shoot moving dummies. And I highly suggest for you to do that for every single scope in the game. And as with shotguns and sniper rifles, just use these 4 same techniques and adjust your sensitivities and movement based on the weapon that you're holding. Set everything right now, guys. It's better to have it set when you need it than not have it when you need it. Ordnance sensitivity. This sensitivity kicks in as soon as you hold a grenade, arc star, or thermite. And to be honest, practice and set it here with the dummies again. Standing, tracing, moving. Yeah, just adjust accordingly. Legend throwing ability sensitivity. This affects your turning sensitivity when you're pressing and holding your tactical or ultimate ability to aim. Drill and adjust accordingly. And for gyroscope users, you can use the exact same method to set your sensitivities. And following from this, the next best thing for you to set right now is in this video.